Long before the world had maps etched in perfect lines, before civilizations carved their names in stone and memory, there existed a city so mysterious. Its name was whispered only in legend. Mystara, a city of shimmering towers, winding streets, and markets alive with the chatter of merchants, was known for its prosperity, its culture, and a strange air of secrecy that lingered over its cobblestone streets. Travelers spoke of it in hushed tones, claiming that once you entered Mystara, the city seemed alive, watching your every step, yet offering no clear path to those who sought to leave. Its citizens were proud, their lives intertwined with rituals that outsiders never understood. And yet, it was said that on one fateful night, Mystara simply vanished, leaving behind only questions, whispers, and the darkest mystery history has ever known. The story begins with young historian Evelyn Carter, an expert in forgotten civilizations. Evelyn had spent years piecing together fragmented scrolls, traveler accounts, and ancient texts that spoke of Mystara. The allure of the city's secrets drew her deeper, compelling her to leave the comfort of modernity and embark on a journey that would change everything she believed about history, reality, and the unseen forces that shape our world. Her first clues were simple: a torn manuscript found in a remote library, a map with edges scorched as if by fire, and references to the night of disappearance that lacked any explanation. Evelyn's curiosity burned hotter with each discovery. She gathered a small team: Marcus, a pragmatic archaeologist; Lila, a linguist who could decipher the oldest scripts; and Jonas, a cartographer who had an uncanny knack for finding patterns in chaos. Together, they traced Mystara's rumored location to a hidden valley shielded by mountains and thick forests, untouched by the modern world. As night fell, their campfire flickered in the chilling wind. Evelyn studied the last piece of the puzzle, her fingers tracing faded lines that hinted at a hidden passage beneath the city's grand palace. "If these legends are true," she whispered, "we're about to witness history, or something much darker." Unseen eyes seemed to follow their every move. Shadows moved between the trees, yet the team dismissed it as tricks of the light. But as the hours passed, strange phenomena began: whispers on the wind, footprints appearing where none could have been, and a chilling sense that the valley itself was alive, resisting their intrusion. By dawn, the first part of Mystara revealed itself, not in ruins, but as a city preserved, as though time had frozen within its walls. The streets were silent, markets untouched, towers glinting with the first rays of sun. And yet, something was profoundly wrong. Evelyn's heartbeat quickened. The city was beautiful, perfect, but empty. The city of Mystara, frozen in time, seemed almost like a painting come to life. Evelyn and her team wandered the empty streets, their footsteps echoing against stone walls that had witnessed centuries of life and death. Windows reflected the morning light, yet behind them, shadows lurked, too quick to identify, vanishing before any eyes could catch them. Lila examined the inscriptions carved on the palace gates. "These aren't just decorative," she murmured, tracing the symbols with her fingers. "They're warnings, or maybe instructions. Something about balance, about the city surviving at the cost of its people." Marcus, always the skeptic, shook his head. "You mean like some kind of curse?" His voice was half in jest, but his eyes betrayed unease. Evelyn didn't respond immediately. She sensed something in the air, a vibration, subtle but undeniable. The closer they walked to the central plaza, the heavier the air felt, as though the city itself exhaled a warning. And then, the first inexplicable event occurred. A market stall, abandoned for centuries, seemed to shiver. Cloth awnings fluttered violently, though no wind had reached them. A sudden, guttural whisper echoed through the empty street: "Leave or stay forever." Jonas froze. "Did you hear that?" The team exchanged wary glances. Fear was no longer an abstract possibility. It was present, tangible, crawling along their skin like cold fingers. Yet curiosity kept them moving forward. They entered what appeared to be the Grand Council Hall, A majestic chamber where Mystara's leaders once convened. Dust-covered furniture, ornate with gold filigree, was untouched, but as they stepped inside, shadows danced along the walls in impossible patterns. Shapes that were not theirs, moving against the light. Lila gasped. It's like the city remembers it's alive. Hours passed, and with each step, the city revealed more of its mysteries. Streets looped unnaturally, familiar paths leading back to the same plazas as if the city refused to let them escape. Marcus became frustrated. This isn't possible. It's a maze, a trap. It's as if someone, or something, designed it to confuse us. As evening approached, the real terror began. Figures appeared in the distance. Humans, but distorted, ghostly, their eyes hollow, faces twisted in silent screams. They moved with purpose, gliding across the streets without a sound. Evelyn held her breath, heart hammering. These weren't memories or illusions. They were echoes, remnants of the people who had lived and vanished here. One of the figures, a woman with long, flowing hair, approached. Evelyn felt an inexplicable pull, as if the ghost was calling her. The woman extended a spectral hand, lips moving in a silent plea. Evelyn reached out instinctively, and the figure vanished, leaving behind a whisper in the air. The night comes and takes all. The team huddled together, understanding dawning. Mystara wasn't just a lost city, it was a warning. Every legend, every fragmented text, every fearful tale now made sense. The city had survived, yes, but at a cost. And the cost was endless, eternal, and horrifying. Night fell. The shadows lengthened. The whispers grew louder. And somewhere, deep beneath the palace, a rhythm began. A heartbeat that was not human, a pulse that seemed to resonate through the city itself. Evelyn knew they had awakened something that had been waiting, patient for centuries, to reclaim what was rightfully its own. By the time the moon rose high, Mystara was no longer just a city of silence. It was awake, and it wanted them to stay. The night in Mystara had settled like a heavy, suffocating blanket. The shadows were no longer distant figures. They moved closer, watching, studying, waiting. Evelyn and her team huddled in the remnants of what once had been the city's library, candles flickering as they tried to make sense of what they had seen. This city, it's not just cursed, Marcus whispered, voice trembling. It's alive, and it's angry. Lila's hands shook as she deciphered more of the inscriptions. It's not just a city. Mystara is a vessel. Every soul here, every disappearance, it feeds something enormous, ancient, and bound to this place. Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine. The stories had been warnings, not myths. And now they were trapped in the very heart of the city with nowhere to run. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Books fell from shelves. Dust and debris filled the air. Jonas shouted, pointing toward the doorway. The spectral figures had returned, more numerous, more defined. They were no longer silent. They were screaming, a haunting chorus of despair that pierced the ears and the soul alike. The team realized the horrifying truth. The city did not merely vanish, it consumed. Every disappearance in history had been orchestrated by the city itself, a self-preserving entity that demanded sacrifice to survive. And now, it had awakened for them. As they moved through the streets, following the faint glow of the moon reflecting on the city's towers, Evelyn noticed the palace at the city's center pulsing with an eerie light. She knew instinctively this was the source, the heart of Mystara, and it was calling to her. "I think we need to see it," she said, voice firm despite the fear gnawing at her. "If we understand it, maybe we can survive." They entered the palace cautiously. The hallways were lined with portraits of rulers long dead, their eyes seemingly alive, following every move. At the end of the central chamber, a massive door loomed, carved with runes that seemed to shimmer in the candlelight. Beyond it, a faint, rhythmic pulse echoed like a heartbeat. Evelyn reached out, her fingers grazing the ancient wood. The door swung open silently, revealing a cavernous room bathed in an unnatural, pale light. In the center floated a swirling vortex of shadows and whispers, a mass that seemed to absorb the very air around it. It's the city itself, Lila whispered. It's conscious, aware, hungry. Marcus stepped back, horrified. We have to leave. Now. But the exit had vanished. The shadows closed in, whispering their eternal plea. Stay, stay, forever. Panic surged. Jonas tried to chart a route, but the city's layout had changed. Streets looped impossibly, walls shifted, doors led to nowhere. Mystara was a labyrinth, a living puzzle designed to trap them until the city's hunger was sated. Evelyn realized the unthinkable. To escape, they would have to confront the city, understand its history, and offer something in return. They were not merely explorers. They were part of the city's dark narrative now, woven into the very fabric of its existence. As the night deepened, the city seemed to pulse faster, more urgently. Shadows lunged, whispers screamed, and the air grew suffocating. One by one, the spectral figures began to approach, extending ghostly hands, their hollow eyes filled with desperate longing. Evelyn stood firm, heart pounding, knowing that what they did next would determine whether they survived or became another dark secret in Mystara's unending history. The night had fully settled over Mystara, and the city's heartbeat echoed through the ground, the air, and every empty street. Evelyn and her team gathered their last reserves of courage, knowing that now they would either survive or become part of the city forever. Awestruck, they reached the center of the palace, where they had witnessed the shadowy vortex earlier. Evelyn whispered to her team, "We need to understand it. This city doesn't just vanish. It protects itself. We have to silence it." Lila began reading the ancient inscriptions again, her voice trembling. It wants us to complete it. A sacrifice, or knowledge, or maybe just to remember that it will always remain alive. Marcus hesitated, fear in his voice. If we make even a single mistake, it could consume us too. Evelyn took a deep breath and stepped forward. As she approached the shadowy vortex, the ground trembled, and a wave of light spread across every building in the city. The sounds intensified, whispers, screams, and countless echoes of the past reverberating all at once. For a moment, Evelyn felt the city's heartbeat sinking with her own. She realized Mystara was alive, and it knew her. Suddenly, Lila shouted, "We have to get out. Now!" But the city's paths had shifted. Doors disappeared, streets twisted into one another, and with every step, the shadows drew closer. Evelyn summoned her last bit of strength and said, "We have to uncover the secret of the past. We need to hear the city's story if we want to survive." Then, without warning, a blinding wave of light surged through Mystara. Towers and buildings began to vanish like mist. The ground shook, and the air was filled with strange, echoing sounds. Evelyn, Marcus, Lila, and Jonas held hands, caught between fear and awe. And then the city was gone, as if it had never existed. Only the valley remained, silent and desolate. The old memories, the whispers, and the shadows were all gone, yet the fear and astonishment stayed alive in their hearts. The four of them survived, but they were never the same. They knew Mystara was alive, somewhere in some form. History reminded them that some cities survive not just in existence, but in spirit. Evelyn lowered her head and whispered, "The secret, the city, it will never end." Marcus said softly, "And we are now part of its story." Under the moonlit sky, they left the valley behind, carrying Mystara's memory with every step. The city had vanished, but its mystery, its fear, and the deep story of history would remain alive forever.